Hey everyone, I just wanted to pop in and show you how to make this really cool little block that I love. I designed it maybe 2 years ago and I've never drawn up a pattern for it, so I thought this is perfect timing. My new phosphor collection just arrived on my doorstep and I knew I wanted to make something fun and in celebration of Pride, so I made this awesome striped heart block. If you'd like the template for this, you can go onto my Patreon page. It's Patreon, patreon.com/libselliot. And there you'll find a free post all about how to make this block. You'll see this tutorial. And if you want to sign up, if you're not signed up for my Patreon, there's different levels and tiers. And depending on what level you choose and subscribe to, you get different rewards. So you can get things like fabric for free, mugs, tote bags, all kinds of cool stuff. You get to be a part of sew-alongs, things like that. So go check out patreon.com. But for now, here's the free tutorial on how to make this cutie patootie heart block. You guys, my new phosphor collection sample yardage just arrived and it's Pride Month, and I was like, the very first thing I want to do is make like a pride block. And I actually made one last year and I didn't write up a pattern for it, but now I'm going to share with you a little tutorial and I am going to post a pattern for free. And it's this heart block. This one is made with Giuseppe Juicy Juice's Spectrostatic fabrics, and it's super easy to make. You can use fat quarters to make this, and it involves strip piecing, and this one is like a needle turn applique, but I'm sure you could also use a raw edge applique on it too. So I'm going to go through the steps with you, and hopefully you guys will want to make one. If you're not into using rainbow fabrics, you can also do any other combination of fabrics. The very first one I made, sorry, I work on my bed sometimes, okay? Let's be honest, I don't have a fancy studio. I've done it in black and white as well, and it looks pretty rad. So, first of all, you're going to need 8 different fabrics, or if you're using just 2 colors, four strips of each. And you're cutting 1.5-inch strips. So if you're using fat quarters, you want to use the longest side, which is usually about 22 inches long. If you are using half yard, full width, I just fold it in half and I cut the strip so that when I open it up it's 44 inches long, but then you only need about 22-inch long strips, okay? So 22 inches by 1.5 inches, and you need 8 of these in total. Okay, so I've got my 8 strips cut. They're all 1.5 inches wide, and phosphor comes in 12 colors, so I had to narrow it down to 8. So I chose these because I felt like it most accurately represented something similar to the pride flag, even though the pride flag has 6 colors plus the trans colors and the Black Lives Matter colors. But we're starting with these. We're going to make a striped panel out of these, okay? So I like to sew them in pairs. So I'll sew those 2 together, and then those 2, and those 2. Then I'm going to press my seams open, and then I'm going to sew these 2 sets together and these 2 sets, and then those all together so you've got one strip. There's a little trick to this though, because sometimes you may find as you're sewing strips together, your whole panel gets a curve to it. So to avoid that, I'm going to start at this end and I'm going to sew these pairs together at the raw selvage end, okay? And then when I sew the next set together, I'm going to start at the opposite end and sew that way. All right? So there's a bit of flipping around. If you don't have this little raw selvage, just mark a little 1 or A so that you know where you started, and then go in the opposite direction the next time you're putting pairs together. And by sewing, you know, in opposite directions, it helps reduce the chances of that sort of weird curve. You get a nice straight, flat panel. All right, so we're going to put these together. So I've sewn the strips into pairs, and I just want to show you. I'm going to iron the seams open, but before I iron them, I'm going to finger press them open so that you get right into the seam. If you don't finger press, sometimes you could end up with, it's almost like an accordion. You get shrinkage. Nobody likes shrinkage, trust me. So if you do a little finger press, you get right into where the thread meets the fabric, and then you go and you iron those open, okay? And then you've got your nice pairs, and you're going to start attaching your pairs together to make the full panel. Does that make sense? Finger press whenever you can. Okay, so my panel is together. It's about, this one is, sorry, about 21.5 inches-ish, 21 3/4. And because I used fat quarters, so it should be somewhere between 21 and 22 inches wide. And that's great because that gives you enough to make the backing piece. And then also the other half will be used for your heart. Okay. Also, when I put this together, it should be about 8.5 inches. Mine's like 8.25 inches. I'm not too worried. As long as when I cut out this heart, it's not going over top of, it's not going further than the width of this panel. As long as it fits within the panel, I'm good. I'm golden. So this is the template you'll use. I created this template. There are two different options. The first option would be if you want to do, if you want to hand applique the heart to the background, you can cut it out on this outer line, and then that'll give you, you'll fold under and you'll do 1/4 inch seam allowance. You'll turn as you sew it onto the background. The other option would be to just cut on this inner line and place it on the background and do raw edge applique. I think I'm going to do mine with some fusible because I've got it handy, but you don't have to use fusible. You can just raw edge it. And I don't have a lot of time today. It's almost supper time. So I'm going to just do a raw edge applique version of this heart. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is cut out the size of the template I want to use. And then I'm going to place it onto my panel, and I'm going to try not to, I'm going to get it as close to the end as possible so that I've got plenty of space for the background, and I'm going to trace it out and cut it out, okay? And then this line here, you can use this to help you line it up with this seam. All right, it might be even easier to do this on the back side of the fabric. Up to you. Here we go. All right. I'm using fusible, but either way, even if you're just using the paper template and you're tracing it, I'm going to work on the back side. And what I want to do is lay out the heart template so that the butt of the heart, the top of the heart, lines up with the center seam, and then the point is also along the center seam. Okay? And then if you're going to just trace it, you can trace it. If you're working on the back side, you could trace it with pen. I like these Clover chalk markers, and then you're going to cut it out. So I'm using fusible. I have to fuse it down with a hot iron. I'm just going to iron that into place, and then I'm going to cut it out along the lines. Look at, I just messed up that seam because I'm not paying attention. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so we're going to trace or fuse your heart, and then we're going to cut along the line, and see how I've got it right up near the edge here so that I can maximize how much is here, and then that way I can control how big I want my final block to be by trimming it down. Exciting! Yay! Okay, woo! Oh, look how pretty that is! Man, this is so cute. Okay, so now I've got the heart. This is the rest of my panel. So I'm going to flip my panel in this direction. So I start with purple, have red on the other side, because otherwise the heart's not going to work. You flip the heart this way. Ooh, pretty! And then you line it up again like this. And then you should have at least a 1/4 inch on each side for your seam allowance. So if you make a whole bunch of these, or you want to add a border, or you want to make it into a pillowcase, or you want to add more stripes so that you can make it into a square, you can do it. Okay, so now this one's the fusible, so I'm just gonna peel the paper off iron it down, and then I'm gonna just do a little stitch. I don't know, zigzag stitch, maybe a straight stitch. What color do I even do? I've got some hot pink. I think that might work. There you go. It's the stripy heart block. All right, let's get it tacked down and trimmed. And there you have it. I chose to do a zigzag stitch to stitch this heart onto the background. And then I just trimmed my block down to a size that I thought looked good visually. And then I added some borders here to represent our trans friends and people of color. And then I quilted it just a little bit and added a fun back. And that's it. It's done. So, I mean, this is how you make this block. I encourage you to take it, make it your own, put it into repeat, make a quilt, or, you know, square it off and make it more square, add more strips. I just wanted to kind of get you started and let you go and flourish. So there you go. It doesn't have to be a Pride heart, but it is Pride Month. So I just want to shout out to all my beautiful LGBTQ plus friends. You make my world. I love you all. Go and sew and be awesome. That's it. Bye.